Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RELEX Talks, our monthly live stream on LinkedIn, where we discuss the latest and most interesting topics touching on supply chain, retail, CPG, and more. We're live on the second Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. sharp Eastern, rain or shine. You can follow RELEX Solutions on LinkedIn to keep up to date with our latest developments in the retail and CPG world. I'm your host, Casey McSherry. This is our second show of 2025. And today I'm excited to talk about something that touches everyone's lives, whether you're a grocer or a grocery shopper: inventory. What hangs in the balance here is availability for customers, but also reducing waste and optimizing the balance sheet. So I'm happy to have two solid experts on the show today. Amanda and Rich, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourselves. Give us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, Casey. So my name is Amanda Oren. I'm the Vice President of Industry Strategy for Grocery North America here at RELEX. I've been here almost a year, and I come from a career in retail in the last 13 years in grocery. So I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Rich Kurhayetz. So I'm a senior strategist as part of Relex's value engineering team. I get to partner with our solutions teams, our product development teams, and our customer success teams. Help companies building their business cases, kind of accelerate and maximize the value on our platform, as well as showcasing some of the coolest, newest things that we've been working on. So I've got 20 years in industry. I come from a retail background, but also led my consultancy most recently in the last 8 years and helping accelerate businesses. So happy to be here.
Amazing. Thank you both for being here. And Amanda, you're back for your second episode in a row.
I know. It's crazy. There's been a lot of travel between then and now, especially
Oh my
with NRF and FMI as well. So yeah, lots of travel between then and now, but excited to be back.
Yeah, yeah. And so last time was a pre-NRF show, and now NRF's behind us. So how was the show this year?
It was fantastic. I think it might have been one of the best yet. I've heard that from a lot of people. A lot of buzz, a lot of traffic at our booth, particularly, but a lot of wonderful conversations and really interesting content on the big stages as well, which was great to see. So I think, if I think about what the biggest hot topic that I heard about at least was AI. There was a lot of jokes being made about, did everyone know that AI are two letters in the middle of the word retail? So yeah, it was everywhere. Couldn't miss it anywhere you went on the show floor. But also, just a lot of topics about how AI is going to be impacting the world of software implementations and basically realize so that companies can realize value much faster than they used to from those software implementations. So
Yeah, and that's part of why we're, digging into AI and how it relates to inventory today. So, let's talk balance. What are we talking about here? What's the balance for grocers and grocery stores? Rich, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I think AI is a great transition to it, right? NRF was like everyone showed up in the same outfit and like who wore it best, right? You think about, what everyone is talking about AI, but it's really clear in the industry that, not all AI is created, equally. Right. You look at what we're seeing in market, right, really in field is that, over 90% of these like AI endeavors end up really just being kind of experiments, right? They're stuck in experimental phase. They're not really delivering direct business value, right? It's very promising, right? But that's one of the biggest challenges. McKinsey's been documented this with the same statements, and we're seeing that with a lot of our partners. So the balance one is really interesting because that's been the big challenge, right? Is forecasting with AI has been around for years, but one of the big challenges is like, what do you do with that forecast? Well, the balance really predicates how you make that plan. And I think that's something that, we all can benefit from in the retail space is really getting that right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you were talking a bit about like how that's a big challenge. So what are some other challenges grocery retailers encounter in achieving accuracy in their inventory and in their ordering processes?
the
Amanda, do you want to jump on that
big
one?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big question across grocery at large. I think for me, it comes down to really understanding what the shelf should look like and what that safety stock level should be, and kind of how to fill the shelf to the right level, have the right products, the right mix, and the right have it, general assortment to be able to maximize sales and minimize shrink. And it's also particularly hard, I would say, to manage all of the metrics and that I just mentioned when you're doing promotions. So when you add that on top, or when you have a big price change, or there's an event going on in the neighborhood, or there's a big snowstorm or fire or whatever's going on,
Mhm.
in the macroeconomic environment, uh, it just compounds the complexity of being able to manage that balance of inventory and having the right amount to not run out of product while also not shrinking out a ton of product.
Yep. Yeah, balance is such an interesting term, Amanda. I think we hear that and it's automatically kind of strikes that tone of like, familiarity of like you think of balance, you think of available, right? But there's so many factors that go into like what truly is your balance, right? You have your on-shelf inventory, like the customer encountered balance, right? What's the status of your code dated and your fresh foods, right? It really comes down to like the what, where, and why you have that inventory, and that really the why is the safety stock. But that inventory balance is really what status is that in? Why do we have that inventory, right? Is it in the back room or is it out on the shelf? Kind of you know, what are those big challenges that they're facing is typically in retail, it's typically predicated on like, what product do I really have? And is it going to be there in time for the customer?
Mhm. Yeah. So addressing some of these problems, how do solutions like Relex's True Inventory and Mobile Pro improve control over ordering and inventory alignment?
Sure. I think yeah, we can easily circle back to even like, the hype around AI, right? And a lot of it was, it's really been pushed by what's been fashionable in the industry. Right? Generative AI has like been all the rage for boy, we're pushing 3 years now, right? Since ChatGPT has been first started. But in reality, like there are very pragmatic applications of AI, both through machine learning as well as like right in platform and systems like Relex. So we're actually using that not just to forecast the sales, but to forecast your inventory status, right? Looking at consumer behavior, who are the milkmaids, reaching from the back and getting the longest dated products, and what is that behavior likelihood in a certain like regionality or even store level?
Mhm.
Like planning at that level is incredibly critical. And what we are able to do is actually provide that we could, they call it technically a synthetic balance, but we really refer to that more affectionately as what is a true inventory, right? What is the true and
Yeah.
effective inventory balance in order for us to help plan your supply chain and plan your purchase orders.
Yeah. And specifically for fresh inventory is highly sensitive to over ordering or under ordering. And so, what do you think are the biggest risks grocers face in managing fresh categories? And how can smarter ordering strategies address these risks?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that the biggest risk is getting it wrong and disappointing customers. I think when you think about traffic in your stores, it's crucial for people to feel like they're getting the freshest product possible, and that their products that they need are there. If you're putting a dish together that has cilantro in it, and your grocery store is out of cilantro, not only are you going to have to go elsewhere this time, but you may go elsewhere next time too, because you may say, oh, I don't know that I'm going to be able to find everything I need
Yeah.
at this grocery store ever. So the stakes are really, really, really high. And I just wanted to comment, I think we have a really cool tool that store employees can use in store called Mobile Pro, where you can also look at the on-shelf availability, and a store employee can update that on-shelf availability, and it will automatically update their order quantity, and it'll also give them, an updated suggested order. And if I think about, the power of that, kind of putting this tremendous forecasting engine in the hands of a store employee, there's a lot of value there. A lot of those employees uh, don't necessarily have any data at their disposal to make really complex decisions. So there's a lot of de-risking that can be done with a tool like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would take that even further. So we've actually we continue to enhance that RELEX Mobile Pro solution with AI, and our product team has actually spent a great deal of time introducing that true inventory capabilities to the platform. So the user in the store doesn't have to be a data scientist, right? They don't even have to look at Excel like some of us do to solve our most complex problems, right? They can literally right from their mobile device, right? It could be a handheld or a scanner. They can scan the unit, and the system can help make recommendations on which items to focus on balance corrections, right? It'll give them a recommended order quantity. They can review that. So there's a lot less doing and a lot more reviewing, right? And it's as simple as just count these areas, right? We're not doing full counts anymore. The system has already gone through and done its basically true inventory check. Like, make a couple of these spot checks and you're going to get the best bang for your buck. That improves your overall investment on labor hours within the store, improves their overall efficiency. And we found it really brings a lot more job, just positive outcomes and happiness in the role, right? As opposed to having to go category by category by category, checking the same balances you checked yesterday, right? That job satisfaction is so beneficial in some of these roles, and giving them more times with the customer, right? That's really what we're trying to get
Exactly.
folks.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to add value to the role, and not necessarily decrease the hours overall that are in store labor, but make them less laborious and more interesting roles for the employees themselves as well. And the example I often refer to is, if you're a store employee and you're standing in front of the avocados and you're trying to figure out how many to order right before Cinco de Mayo. If you don't have any data at your disposal, it's really hard to remember how many you ordered last year. Did you run out or not? Well, now it's on a weekend. Last year was in the middle of the week. What kind of an impact is that going to have? And the weather is really great outside. So what kind of impact is that going to have? It's borderline impossible for someone to have all of that information just in their heads, no matter how long they've been working in a specific store. So.
That's so funny, because I'm totally guilty of I'm such a nerd. I made my poor wife when we happened to be out at a store, and I'm like, hold on. I just need to go over to the avocado section and the chip section in the store. I just need to know how well they forecast. You're such a geek. But the Super Bowl is a great example of another one. Like, think of the
Yeah,
Mario.
exactly.
How can
Absolutely.
you know, right, as a store person standing in front trying to get through your role, how many orders to place, right? That's where the intelligence of a very powerful system, running those algorithms and making those recommendations to get you to appropriate presentation minimums, filling your ad minimums, making sure you're hitting your in-stock level. All of those considerations can be done for you and right at the tip of their fingers, right? That's our goal.
And where are you in the country, right? Like the teams that
Absolutely.
were in last year were not necessarily the teams that are in this year, and how does that impact each individual location and store? So it's on. I mean, forecasting is a tangled, complex web. And I used to do it started my career as an inventory planner. I used to do it in Excel, as I'm sure many people still do, and it's very, very hard to get it spot on without advanced technology, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many moving parts and so many factors. Something I
Yeah,
loved about the Mobile Pro was I got to see it when we were at SKO. I got to see it for the first time, and it is really so intuitive. 'Cause sometimes you do have teenagers working in these stores, and it's very visually easy to use. A follow-up though, how does Relex's fresh optimization ensure that orders align with real-time demand to minimize waste? Kind of going back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah, there's so many complex factors taken into account, and I've mentioned a few of them, but you have to think about weather, you have to think about holiday shifts, right? If how many days are there between Thanksgiving and Christmas, how does that impact what people are purchasing? For example, is Easter falling early April or mid-April? How does that impact purchasing? Um, Macroeconomic trends are massive. Events, was there a Friday night high school football game coming up, and how's that going to impact what people are purchasing? And then if I think about macroeconomic trends, even things like the new GLP-1 drugs that are being taken, and how do you factor in the fact that people are eating slightly less salty and sweet snacks than they were a year ago into your data, right? And they're eating a little bit more produce and a little bit more fresh meat and seafood than they had last year at this time. and how much less, right? I mean, those are complex questions that it's really, really hard to answer without a complex tool.
Yep, and that's a great tie-in, Amanda, because there's an element of forecasting, demand forecasting, but there also is demand sensing, right? And that's just an additional layer of added complexity because forecasting is challenging enough. Like over the last 10 plus years, and you look back even 20 years, right? We were all doing point in time forecasting. That was the best we could do. How much do I need to buy today? Your forecast is how much am I going to sell by my lead time? How much do we need to buy today? Like today, like we're no longer doing point in time forecast. We're running a truly time phased forecast, which is very, very powerful. But because of that, right, it could either be, a very tall ask for data scientists to put together, or using very rigorous black box platforms. But I think one of the benefits of a platform like RELEX is we're very open box, right? Everything in the system is very explainable, right? There's no secret behind the science. Like we're showing why this decision was made, why this recommendation was made. We can expose what we call as regressors. If you're, folks are familiar with, what was previously, mathematical, like linear regression, like let's crunch through the numbers and figure out what a forecast should be. Instead, it's organized in a very, very natural language sort of way. You can review it, you can understand the impact. If you have a question about a number, it's easy to find, right? But even the crazy rigors of data science, you look at machine learning algorithm selectors, and even what you can export your data to. It really comes down to what you do with the forecast that matters most, right? AI shouldn't stop at just trying to be predictive because people can sometimes be unpredictable as well. So being able to sense that and know what to do with that information is probably the most important part of an end-to-end planning system.
Yeah, totally. We have a comment here that's actually kind of relevant from Kurt. And these forecast orders are so easy to mess up daily demand with fat fingers. Human error, kind of like what you were saying, Rich. Bring on the modern, simplified interfaces with informed decision making.
Yeah, I mean, and I would even take that a step further. Is we can make back finger mistakes, whether it's in the store or even in the headquarters. But there's also the element of bias, right? If you've done a lot of analytics and analysis on this, and I've been part of forecast COEs in the past, that there tends to be a belief that if I touch it or affect it, we make it better. One of the things we do in RELEX is we track our initial forecast and overridden forecast. And we've come to find out that while a lot of folks have kind of done it always done it the same way, we're finding a lot of those behaviors end up creating kind of a forecast drift, and we continually pull it away from and create suboptimal decisions. So fat fingers and accidents, and sometimes, unintended over analysis, is kind of pulling us in the wrong direction as well.
Yeah. So, getting back to AI, AI is transforming grocery operations, and AI is a big, big topic in the last couple of years. What do you think are the biggest advantages of using AI in forecasting and ordering? And how can it help address common challenges like demand fluctuations? We've kind of touched a little bit on this already. But yeah, Rich, do you want to take that one?
Sure. And I know I hit a bunch in there, but I think AI is so much more than fancy forecasting now, right? It's not just about it's like, wow, can your system really guess better what the customer is going to buy than I can? It's like, well, for the most part, we've proven that it can. Right now, we're well beyond what used to be the stage gate, 10, 15 years ago, which was the random walk, right? Can we guess better? Right? Systems are more accurate than that, but you can't stop there. Right. That has become the appeal of like, can I build a better crystal ball? Like, that's not it. How do you optimize and consider all the constraints within your network, and where RELEX has applied AI? And this is a great one that if someone has questions, we've documented so much of this. We create white papers. We work with a lot of academic groups as well. Like, we want to get this information out, right? We want to show and share those best practices as we do across our customers. Right. What we've really found is, right, over 74%, up to 80% now of the benefit of the process is not just on that forecast. It's what you do with the forecast. It's applying that to reality, right? The constraint-based lead times, the availability issues, the challenges, and basically being able to not just take a constraint, but actually control that as a parameter within the system. So for us, I think it's the application, the pragmatic application of AI, and having it, actually work for you instead of having and making it kind of that experiment, that magic trick that like, oh wow, that was you guessed the coin toss better than anyone else did.
Yeah, the other comment I was going to make is that um, there's AI to be used for individual problem solving, and then there's also the idea that you can use it in a more unified way to be able to break down silos across the organization, which is extremely powerful. It's almost like a multiplier of the impact that one can have with the use of technology.
Yeah, that's a common term we have internally. We joke about it. It's like the 1 + 1 is 3 or the 1 + 1 is 5, right? Like when you're not just, we looked at, over the years, it was, a lot of ERP transformations, data lake projects. It's right. You end up with kind of like these data pools and Excel tools, right? It's a cute rhyme, but in reality, like we just put all the data in one place and we're still using the same spreadsheets. And Amanda, you probably know what I'm talking about. Like when you've got a named sheet it becomes kind of endearing, right? You log in on Monday morning, you're checking your orders, you're checking your demand, you're reviewing what's wrong, where your variances are, and you're prepared to talk to it, if leadership comes to question, right? But there's so much more to your business that once you have that level of stability, that you understand that flow, right? You can plan better collaboratively with your suppliers, right? And the stores are receiving a more consistent flow of inventory. Like that's, to me, like that's the ideal phase, is where we're actually optimizing across areas, right? Not just demand planning, but also with planogramming and promotions, and then that store labor. For us, it's kind of like that's the 4 areas that we really look at to say, not just putting the data in one place, but put your intelligence in one system, in one place where modules can actually optimize each other.
Yeah, I mean, just an example of that, if you're looking at your tomato sauce area and you're realizing that, you're constantly out of stock in a certain item, does it have enough facings? And vice versa, if you're constantly overstocked and you're expiring product out in a certain area, does it have too many facings? Like those kinds of questions are quite challenging to optimize and get really right without a pretty complex solution behind them.
Yeah. Look at one of our customers, Sprouts, right? They've got a beautiful like rice aisle, right? A great place to go experiment and then, promote their products left and right. But they have so many amazing options for rice. More than I even knew existed, but you layer in promotions over that, and then people's kind of trial. They go to certain stores for certain to try new products out. Like, is that one going to catch on, right? Was that on TikTok, or was that on, in social feeds? That kind of has created kind of a fad. Like that's where demand sensing is so important. Like, did you offer the appropriate presentation minimum, and do you have enough in your chain at the right level to be able to respond to it when those things take off? And right, and when is sale just a sale, and when is it an actual trend or a regional trend?
Yeah, it's a fun example of that. I don't know if anyone saw the TikToker talking about cucumbers last year. There was some TikToker that talked about like a smashed cucumber salad and how easy it is to make and how delicious it is. And it went viral, and it increased cucumber sales like through the roof. And a huge amount of grocers were out of cucumbers for quite a decent amount of time. And it was all because of this one TikToker. And it's really, once again, if you think about not having tools at your disposal to forecast, how are you supposed to know why the cucumbers are out of stock and when they're going to be back in stock? For all you know, you're looking at the shelf, you're thinking, it's probably a supply issue. We probably just didn't get orders in time, or I mean, you have no idea. So unless you actually saw that specific TikToker who apparently has changed the shape of the world of cucumbers forever.
Fantastic. I love those examples. I mean, it is a constant challenge, right? We joke about it in retail, right? The struggle is real, right? You get up Monday morning and like, what am I going to walk into? What took off? What picked up? What didn't sell that we wanted to, right? Promotional in stocks, we're hearing across the board from all of the major grocers that we work with, right? That's one of the biggest challenges. And sometimes you're answering questions where you're wondering like, did my boss didn't follow the news? Like, eggs are an issue. Like, it is very difficult to get eggs, and then that you get pushed. And I'm like, well, why are we out of stock? Like, I can cite the news, but in reality, you have to have a plan, and that's what, again, a platform like RELEX is it allows you to collaboratively plan with those suppliers. It allows you to run multiple suppliers and having a secondary and tertiary suppliers lined up and ready. That when issues like that come up, you are able to quickly respond, right? And that's again another thing that's so important about the flexibility, of your solution and approaching this is, in those cases, whether it's cucumbers, eggs, rice, spaghetti sauce. Like what, where are those issues and where are they spiking? And when is it simply just an anomaly? And when is that a trend we need to respond to and buy into?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, how do RELEX's predictive analytics and diagnostics optimize ordering cycles to improve availability and reduce errors and kind of solve for some of the problems we've been talking about?
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into our modules because we have some great documentation on our site. But I think high level, you stop me, Amanda, if I'm going too far into any of these. Uh, but in reality, like order cycle optimization is one of the biggest opportunities I think retailers have today that tends to be under optimized, and a lot of that is really because we're stuck with the reality of case packs, right? And if we go through careful case pack analyzation, which we're actually able to do live in our diagnostics platform, we've actually found a massive amount of opportunity to say that, well, what if we actually paid more? If you paid a little bit more off for this supplier, a little bit more for a brake pack or eaches on this product set, right? Or on this other set, we actually order a larger quantity less frequently. Here's how much money we can bring to net savings. And that's just one example of getting that case pack right. So then we can get our order cycle optimization done. But ultimately, all of this is available in RELEX Diagnostics, which we have some very exciting new things with generative AI coming. We'd love to show folks, it allows you to really kind of come in the morning instead of that frantic pulling up my spreadsheet, pulling down my data, pasting it in, pivoting it, VLOOKUPs, and then figuring out where my business is. You come in, and we like to say you start your day with done, right? You come in and here's my order recommendations. Here's my exception flags. Here's what the system is recommending to do. Do I agree with it? And a lot of issues we're able to automate through our rules engine that you come in and those are already decided for you, right? You can just decide if you would like to intervene before the order's dropped. So to me, the diagnostics is one of our new most powerful engines. And with generative AI, like you can only imagine like walking in the morning and have a full document basically written for you, right? That's how cool some of the things that we have are coming. Of just making things clear and easy to understand, right? Transparency is everything. Explainability is to me is critical in like this very complex and data science driven world today.
I just want to add one thing to that. I think many people are realizing the power of AI in their own personal lives with ChatGPT and the likes, and being able to tell it where you want to go on vacation and put in some prompts and get a pretty good itinerary, which happened to me last year when I went to Japan. So we have used similar technology to create this adorable little robot called Rebot that can answer all of your Monday morning questions when you come in and you're trying to figure out why you didn't sell any eggs in Atlanta last week, and it'll tell you, what's going on, and that it was a supply issue. It wasn't a demand issue, and it wasn't a question of, bad ordering, for example. So that, I think that is starting to change the lives of many of our customers, and just not having to do all of that crazy digging and trying to understand what's going on by region, by store, by category. You can ask it whatever you want. It'll tell you what's going on with your business, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love Rebot. I actually use it quite frequently.
I use it all the time. I didn't really understand the hype until I started using it, and then I was like, oh wow, it's actually kind of changed my life.
Yeah. I love it. And we're about to wrap up here. I think we don't have any more questions unless I'm missing any. So yeah, why don't we wrap up for today? Thank you guys so much for joining us. We recapped inventory and grocery and AI and common challenges and how to solve them. So thanks everybody for watching RELEX Talks. Don't forget to follow RELEX Solutions on LinkedIn for our insights and the upcoming episode, which is next month on March 12th, when we'll be discussing our annual State of Supply Chain report. And don't worry if you can't catch it live. All of our shows are available on demand on our LinkedIn page and on our YouTube channel. I'm your host, Casey McSherry. We've had Rich Kerhayat and Amanda Oren joining us today. Thank you guys so much, and see you next time.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.